Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, the UK has been out in front in offering military support to Ukraine, and I'm grateful for what he said yesterday about the need to make sure that we keep ammunition in reserve for what could be a protracted struggle over this issue. But there has been in no doubt about the extent of the package that has already been set out yesterday and what we are already doing. Because, Mr. Speaker, I don't think people quite realise that the UK is out in front. We've sanctioned 275 individuals already. Yesterday we announced measures that place banks worth £37 billion, worth £37 billion under sanctions, in addition to more oligarchs. And, Mr. Speaker, there is more to come, and we will be stopping Russia. We will be stopping Russia from raising sovereign debt, stopping Russian companies from raising money, and stopping Russian companies, as I said yesterday, even clearing in sterling and dollars on international markets, Mr. Speaker. That will hit Putin where it hurts, but it is absolutely vital that after this first barrage, we work in lockstep with friends and allies around the world. And we squeeze him simultaneously. We squeeze him simultaneously in London, in Paris, in New York at the same time. Unity, Mr. Speaker, is absolutely vital.
I hear what the Prime Minister says about sequencing and about further sanctions. But there's already been an invasion. And there's clearly concern across the House that his strategy, I accept unintentionally, could send the wrong message. So if the Prime Minister now brings forward his full package of sanctions, excluding Russia from financial mechanisms like SWIFT and a ban on trading in Russian sovereign debt, he will have the full support of the House. Will he do so?
Prime Minister.
I'm grateful. Mr. Speaker, I think yesterday, and I'm grateful, by the way, for the general support that the opposition have given, not just to our economic sanctions, but also to the package of military support, which will, as I have said, intensify. What we want to see, Mr. Speaker, is de-escalation by Vladimir Putin. There's still hope that he will see sense, but we are ready very rapidly to escalate our sanctions as I have set out. And under the measures that this House has already approved, and that we can now target, Mr. Speaker, any Russian entity, any Russian individual. We can already target not just the breakaway republics, the so-called breakaway republics in the Oblast of Donetsk and Lugansk. We can target members of the Duma who voted to recognise them. This is the most far-reaching piece of legislation of its kind, and I'm glad that it has his support.
It does have my support, and if it's used, we will support it. We must also do more to defeat Putin's campaign of lies and disinformation. Russia today is his personal propaganda tool. I can see no reason why it should be allowed to continue to broadcast in this country. So will the Prime Minister now ask Ofcom to review its licence?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I believe that my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, has already asked Ofcom to review that matter. But what I will say, Mr. Speaker, is that we live in a democracy, Mr. Speaker, and we live in a country that believes in free speech. And I think it's important that we should leave it up to Ofcom rather than to politicians to decide which media organisations to ban. That's what Russia does.
Keir Starmer.
The request was for a review, and I'm very glad to hear that review is now happening. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to be deflected from the unity that this House needs just at the moment. At the weekend, the Prime Minister said that if Russia invades Ukraine, he will open up the Matryoshka dolls of Russian-owned companies and Russian-owned entities to find the ultimate beneficiaries within. Well, Russia has invaded, and it's time to act. If the Prime Minister brings forward the required legislation to do this, he will have Labour's support. So will he commit to do so in the coming days?
Yes. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are, as I said, bringing forward in the next wave of sanctions measures that will stop all Russian banks, all oligarchs, all Russian individuals raising money on London markets, and we are also accelerating, Mr. Speaker, the economic crime bill, which will enable us in the UK to peel back in the next session, Mr. Speaker, to peel back the facade of beneficial ownership of property in the UK and of companies. It's gone on for far too long. We are going to tackle it under this government, Mr. Speaker, but on all these measures, I think it is very, very important that the House remembers they are more effective when all financial centres move forward together. And that is what the UK has been organising.
Mr. Speaker, I think I heard the Prime Minister say that the economic crime bill will be in the next session. I hope I misheard that. But I can assure him, if he brings it forward in this session in coming days, it will have our support. There's no reason to delay this. Let me also turn to the elections bill. As it stands, the bill would allow unfettered donations from overseas to be made to UK political parties from shell companies and individuals with no connections to the UK. Labour has proposed amendments that protect our democracy from the flood of foreign money drowning our politics. We can all now see how serious this is. So will the Prime Minister now change course and support these measures?
Right, that was number 10. Oh, actually, it was the House of Commons and question time with Boris Johnson. OK, Kiev is the hot topic. Ukraine is the hot topic. Russians' activities are the hot topic. And who better to talk to than let's go now to an analyst, political analyst, Mr. Serhiy Shapovalov. I hope I pronounced that right. He is, of course, in Kiev. Serhiy, thanks very much for joining us here on Anews. Of course, this is a hot topic. We're all talking about it. Nothing much else going on around the world. Let's bring you up. We've had some latest news. One of them is that Ukraine or Zelensky has ordered some form of state of emergency that he plans to bring towards Parliament. Yet, just yesterday, he wasn't so worried that Russia's movements in the east were going to, make any waves. What do you make of it all, with the latest?
Yeah, he also issued a decree not only about state of emergency, but also about a partial mobilization of military reserve. And of course, these are necessary measures to prepare the country for defense. Why it is necessary now? Until yesterday evening, it seemed that Putin's recognition of so-called Donbas republics was the step Putin, after several months of threatening the whole Europe, Ukraine and the United States with war, Putin did not achieve any significant concessions, neither from the side of NATO nor from Ukraine. And he just needed some small victory just to keep face and exit from the situation. And such recognition of the independence of these so-called republics may have be a good small victory just for his internal audiences. But yesterday in the evening, he stated that they recognized so-called republics not in their actual borders. And their actual borders include, I should remind to our audiences, their actual borders include only 1/3 of Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine. And they aspire to take the control over the whole Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine. And Putin says that he supports such aspirations of so-called republics. So with these statements, he creates preconditions for further aggression against Ukraine. Maybe it will not happen in the short term, but he considers this option. He just, for now, he understands that launching such an attack will cause military losses. He just needs to choose a moment when Ukraine will become maybe more internally political, stable, or just more comfortable moment. Of course, after his pathologically hateful towards Ukraine speech that he held on February 22, we understand that he denies the right of Ukrainian people to have their own state. And he is like modern reincarnation of Hitler. Completely disrespectful for international law. He considers military force to promote his interests on the foreign arena, and he understands only the language of force. So we should define, we should prepare to defend our country, and that is President Zelensky doing well, and that is what Ukrainian society prepares for with help of our allies. From Turkey, from Great Britain, from Germany. Freezing so-called Nord Stream 2 is very important to deter Russia. Together with our allies from the United States, we will become stronger.
Okay, so let me just understand this a little bit clearer and for our viewers at home. So the Donetsk and Luhansk areas, the Donbass region, 1/3 of it is controlled by Russian-supported separatists, right?
Right.
So
Two-thirds of it
the other
are controlled by
2/3
Ukrainian government.
are supported by Ukrainian, I don't know, how would you say it? Are there Ukrainian forces there?
You mean on the rest 2/3 of the territory?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. It's complete control of Ukrainian government, of course.
Under the Ukraine,
it's just government-controlled territories, like any other region of Ukraine.
Right. So, but Ukraine doesn't see them as independent republics. Is that correct?
Of course.
It's all part of Ukraine. So
yes.
they run. So, are we looking? Is Zelensky looking to add more? I don't know, support military-wise? As Putin is bringing more from the east, will Kiev be sending troops to the region for, I don't know, for peacekeeping?
I think they prepare defense and transporting some military build-up to Ukrainian government-controlled territories, just in case Putin decides to start a military operation just to defend Ukrainian territories.
Sure.
But Ukrainian government, I should emphasize, and Ukrainian authorities emphasize it every day, we do not even consider the military operation against these occupied territories, because we understand that these are highly urbanized areas, and any type of military operation will cause significant civilian casualties. We are devoted to diplomatic way of resolving the conflict, and we try to avoid civilian casualties as much as we can.
I hope so. I hope so too, Ray. All right. Do you think? Let's look at that. In your opinion, do you think that diplomacy is out of the window, or? I mean, we know that Antony Blinken was supposed to be meeting with Lavrov today. He's called that off. Have we just? Does it really look like there's not going to be any diplomacy available now?
Maybe not diplomacy, but some kind of non-military deterrence. And I'll try to explain what I mean. Germany has made a public statement that it stops the certification of Nord Stream 2. And it is a powerful step to deter Russia, because Russia earns much of its money with which Russia finances its army from selling gas to Europe. And with this Nord Stream 2, they could sell gas to Europe without Ukraine. For now, their gas is transported to Europe via Ukrainian pipeline.
Right.
And if Nord Stream 2 is stopped, is frozen, Russia should be obliged to transfer its natural gas to Europe through Ukrainian pipeline.
Right.
And if in such situation, if Russia starts a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine will just block its pipeline. Russia will lose its ability to sell the gas to Europe, and Russia will lose money to finance its armed forces. And these steps like these are very important to deter Russia in non-military way.
You're saying that the gas goes through Ukraine. Does it still go through to Europe? Does the gas still go through Ukraine right now, even though we've got all these tensions going on?
These were contracts that were made a year or two ago. They provide about $3 billion to Ukrainian budget in a year. They are quite important. This money are quite important for Ukraine. And to be honest, Russia has no other options until Nord Stream 2 is launched. Russia has no other options to deliver its natural gas to Europe. Okay. That is why, despite the conflict, the gas is still transferred through Ukrainian territory.
All right, good. Let's have my last question. So I know you're a busy man. I know that was probably a tough question to ask, that last one, because we don't know that for sure. Right. My last question to you, sir. I know you're busy. With all these sanctions, we've just had Boris Johnson in the UK saying, right, we're going to stop a lot of things happening of Russians in the UK. As you said yourself a couple of times, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline has been is not moving forward. Is this enough to deter Putin from attacking or a more aggressive stance of moving into Ukraine, do you think? Or does more need to be done?
Well, it may look enough for the moment, but Putin imagines himself like Russian monarch or something. We understand that he stopped to be rational. And his close associates, so-called Russian oligarchs, who were imposed sanctions upon, begin to lose money, and they've lost billions of dollars already. It can create even internal instability in Russia in mid-term perspective. But such calculations matter if we assume that they are rational. And with Putin's insanity and his imagination of himself as Russian Tsar, who should restore the Russian Empire, I think that he may take irrational steps, and despite the economic losses, launch such an operation. And that is why we should prepare to defend ourselves every day.
Let's hope it doesn't go to war, Serhiy, honestly. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you so much for joining me here on Anews. Take care. We'll speak again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.